Hello and welcome. Here we are again, Tuesday, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. And today's subject is disempowerment of self and what are the effects of it. And Marianne and I talked yesterday about just how we disempower ourselves and then slid into how does that impact not only us, but the world? Because if I play small and say, oh, the world is way too big, I cannot contribute to the earth, what are the effects of that? And it's not only that I am excluding what I can contribute to the earth, but I'm also excluding to receive what the earth is interested in contributing to me.
Yeah.
So if we really place constantly small, the effect is so much less than what is possible.
Yeah.
What would be if we would actually allow ourselves to receive what the earth is contributing? And just to make a minor point, like the other day, I was just sitting in nature. Since it was hot, I was sitting in the shade of a tree and admiring the tree. And then thoughts came on, since right now I'm traveling to find the place where I would like to live. And what came from the tree or the earth, I don't want to necessarily delineate it that specifically. Are you making it significant that you find the correct spot on where you're going to live? And I heard that and I said, oh shit, yes, that is what I'm doing. And I laughed because I know exactly that making something significant and going for right, correct, etc., is not really creating anything.
And
So I
very
gave
disempowered.
thanks.
Yes.
What do
And
you
it
have to say?
disempowers a lot also, isn't it?
Hmm?
It disempowers also a lot, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, do you have an experience that you can share to just even in a simple way of how we disempower ourselves by playing small?
Huh. I believe there will be a lot of examples where we can go. But I want to catch something, going to something, an energy that came up for me when you were
Hmm?
talking. And it was about the disempowerment and the receiving and the contribution we are for the earth and receiving the contribution from the earth, etc. But the energy that came in also for me today is with that the disempowerment of ourselves. We are not allowing
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
creation in whatever way, because we cut off what, even considering that there is some possibility or more than one possibility to create together with the earth, going beyond contribution as whatever that may be, but generating, creating, isn't that what we are can choose to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
with our bodies, with our beings, and every molecule of existence in a way of speaking. So yeah, and it was that energy also that became clear for me as wow, when with the point of views I have, let us say I'm too small to really have an impact on the earth in this world for the change I would like to see in the
Mm-hmm.
world, for
Yeah.
example. With those point of views, I'm not only disempowering myself, but I'm not allowing the possibilities because I don't know what are those possibilities universe has ready this. Yeah, there are there. I'm not sure. I don't know what are the possibilities Earth can show me because I have to cut off that awareness. I
Yeah.
have to cut off perceiving, the receiving, the being there because of the point of views I have about myself. So that this your point of views create your reality. We spoke about that last week, but that conversation went on and on and on in the past week after our life we did. And knowing that the impact of the way I allow myself to disempower myself, what a bigger impact and effect that has
Yeah.
for everything
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah,
And, to just play off of what you just said, is by not uh, perceiving the possibility of creation, uh, we also are not willing to be a contribution to those creations.
yeah,
And so a lot less gets created. And I remember, because we so often talk about, oh, the earth is so big, and what am I, tiny little being? When there was the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, uh, and the oil it was a big ecological devastation. And Gary and Dan kept asking, can we contribute? Can we contribute? And they got a no until the oil well was finally capped. And that day, they got a yes.
yeah,
And see, we, from this reality's perspective, we think so much we need to know exactly to what we are contributing.
yeah, yeah,
And what happened back then, it's such a great example, and I keep reminding myself of that, is there was just without a point of view how it had to look and what was going to happen, etc. Here, Earth, we're gifting you energy, and take it and do with it whatever you know best to do. And what happened? The oil started to disappear. How come?
mm,
Down in the deep ocean, where oil leaks through fissures into the ocean, there are microbes that eat the oil. Those microbes had gone up to the surface and started eating the oil.
yeah,
The earth knows what she's doing. The earth has the tools that are required. What if we are willing to, without a point of view, to just contribute energy? And the earth has the ways and the means to utilize that energy for the benefit of
yeah.
all.
And isn't it interesting, Karina, as the earth knows, the earth really knows. And we
Yeah,
start from our side, our point of view is we have to know how, when, why,
yeah,
etc., etc., etc. And there we cut off everything in a
yeah,
way, as though there is no trust. There is not even place and space for knowing, for being, for being. It is a being because we know that the earth know, but do we really want to know? that Earth knows? And are we really want to know that we, by being, are the contribution for that knowing what is required?
And by being, are we willing to let go of the control that we feel the need for by having to know what exactly, when, where, and how?
Yeah. And this was something that came across in the weekend. As a sudden, it was clear as though from the start of this beautiful, interesting thing that's happening with the virus in worldwide, even though it was information, different information, it was information from the start that lightened me up as, yeah, that matches more of what I know,
Mhm.
not really knowing, but and then I catched as in a yeah second, a flash of a second, it was, oh, but wait a second, where did I stop my knowing, my true knowing? As though I stopped being the contribution I truly can choose to be for the earth and to know what is
Mhm.
required now to go. As though because it matched a knowing of what I know, but I stopped it there and I took everything as real, true, and from there I go ahead. Not, do you get what I want to say? It's like when we are not present and not willing to be in question every 10 seconds, then where do we stop knowing? Where do we stop being the contribution? Where do we stop creating what is possible to create?
And
And that is
it's
also that there's empowerment for me that became clear. Yeah.
and it's that becoming aware of that small, even minute shift in energy.
Mm-hmm.
When I cut off something, then there is a shift in energy.
Yeah.
When I misidentify, there is a shift in energy. It's those, what's going for me. It is slowly becoming sort of like this alarm bell that goes off when that puts me back into question. What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah.
What is this? And then I start asking questions. Even just what is this is already a very valid question.
Yeah, of
And
course.
then I get back into the groove, so to speak, and ask the questions, become aware, and then can go from there.
Yeah. And this, Karina, what you mentioned, it is so true. And it can change everything, and it can change in a nanosecond, can change
Mhm.
everything. Nevertheless, when you are occupied and you go on and on and on in your daily life, as what I notice is I accumulate those slightly difference in energies as accumulating that it is intense enough to get the alarm bell off. And by getting more clear and clear and clear, it is also allowing myself to catch more rapidly
Mhm.
that bell,
Yep.
that sign. And also, as you mentioned, what is it? What is this truly? What is this? What is truly going on for me? As and we spoke about that yesterday also, that there are energies we learned to identify them as
This,
that
that, and the other.
a
Yeah.
fixed thing,
Hmm.
that when you go more into that, it looks that there is appearing something different.
Yeah.
And can you tell something, perhaps sharing here what you spoke about to me yesterday with
Hmm.
some of the energies? Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's interesting.
Uh, yesterday I woke up and r- I know it happened while I was on the computer. I don't know, remember if I read something or what it was. It triggered an intense sense of gratitude. And then as a sudden, I felt sad, or what I labeled, I felt sad. And I said, oh, what is this? And I have noticed that I'm a lot of space lately, really very spacious. And what came for me was the awareness that I mislabeled that combination of being space and being grateful as sad, among
Mm,
other
wow,
things.
wow.
And I noticed yesterday when Dane read that he was sort of like, huh? How can you do that? And maybe I went to a conclusion. It doesn't matter. But the moment I felt that sadness, quote unquote, I decided I'm not going there. I'm choosing happiness. And during this trip, I have been practicing choosing happiness, and it's pretty quickly that the energy shifts for me. And the energy shifted in that case too.
Yeah,
And it was real interesting how that overlay of energies, or energies that I chose and identified before, it really created something where I said, "What is going on? What am I doing? Am I misidentifying things?" And it put me back into the question.
yeah,
And how quickly, what I also realized is how quickly do we go into defining something? We
yeah,
want to know what is this? And, it's part of what I call, and I truly have been a head tripper, that we go into head tripping, we need to know uh, what would happen if that need to know is not taking that seriously. What would happen if I would be willing, instead of needing to know, to just be present with the energy and either enjoy it or
yeah,
change it if I don't
yeah,
enjoy it?
yeah. And it is interesting as you noticed that you are so much more space,
Hmm.
and then identifying certain energies as something that we know, small, but being more space makes it also available to be more aware of everything that is moving
That,
in that space
yeah,
also. So we are so aware. So it could have been also that you perceived sadness of she's and many
somebody
people.
else, yeah.
It could be. But what is interesting is choosing happiness, and happiness as a natural way of our being.
Hmm.
Because when we are being, we are happy.
Yeah.
So it isn't important if it was sadness of yours, if it was others from someone else or something else. And tapping into the earth, because I did it at the same time. It was so like, yeah, but the earth is so much space that we can't
Hmm.
even imagine and define what space that is. So, what if earth would choose the same thing as we do, as though defining everything that is going on in the space we are? She couldn't be what she is, because every time we define, we
We shrink
become
the space.
smaller. Yeah, we become smaller.
Yep.
We disempower, we go out of the knowing, of the perceiving, of the receiving, of the
Yep.
being. Yeah. And that is so, so
And
grateful.
it it this listening to you brings up another example. Um, Still sitting under that tree, I got annoyed. Behind me were parking spots. And there were people that did that short hike to a viewpoint, leaving their car running because it was pretty warm. And there was a moment when I got annoyed and I perceived the tree, okay, being in total allowance of it. And I said, oh, what would change if I'm in allowance? And for me, the annoyance went away, and actually, the noise almost dropped on some level to being less intrusive for me. And it was just so special. And I said, thank you to the tree for showing me allowance. You know,
Wow, this thank you for this example, but this brings me to something as I'm really sensitive for sound. I
mm-hmm,
hear it really loud. And somehow, so often I chose, and now I can see it clear that it is I chose to expand myself to become
mm-hmm,
bigger and bigger and bigger as that the it's not violent anymore because the space
yeah,
between the molecules is so becomes so big that it isn't that violent because of the it's not that compact anymore, it's not that solid anymore, as though knowing with my partner and friends I had it that are even less sensitive, ear sensitive in general, but then they can't lead with the annoying sound of a motor is going on or the clock is ticking or those typical annoying sounds. And I
yep,
wondered every time, but how is how is that, as knowing that I'm a lot more sensitive and hearing more tuned
mm-hmm,
than them. But then in that case, it was me, the one that wasn't bothered about those sounds. Now I'm getting it. It is because I'm choosing there to become more space.
yep.
Yeah.
And
And not going in the point of view and defining it as annoying, as choosing what can I be different with it.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's be expanding out uh, is a incredibly potent tool to deal with anything that is annoying. For us, I'm just, and it's the example is you drop a boulder into a bathtub, and it splashes quite a bit. You drop a boulder into the ocean, it's, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that is basically the effect of an annoyance for us being small, being contracted, or being expanded.
And we do that also because this weekend was on Saturday. I knew it was really, really time to get my bars run. And I noticed that when I become more like a shortcut, a shortcut. And but even then, what if, because I notice now what would be have possible if I chose, even knowing that it was time to run my bars, and yes, it was time to
Mm-hmm.
expand my allowance, but somehow that day, up till running my bars, I chose the small size. of me defined by, yeah, but it is really required to have my bars run, and it's therefore I am like this. It's defining, because
Nope.
even then I could have chosen to
Yep.
expand. And yeah,
Yeah. And
don't we do that often in fights or discussions, or and that's from the right point of view, the
yeah.
wrong point of view also, that we forget, as we cut off that knowing that it can change everything when we expand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
And I find
interrupted
it
you.
so interesting is uh, people can argue, oh, I don't have a point of view. I'm just like, for instance, just ask your body. Getting vaccinated is not right or wrong. Not getting vaccinated is not right or wrong. Just ask your body what contributes.
Yeah.
And having the need to harp on that, isn't that making a point of view?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, and I
And
catch myself on certain things,
it,
thinking I had no point of view.
yeah,
Yeah,
and points of view can be so subtle
yeah,
that
yeah,
it is really interesting at what point does it become a point of view, or is it just an interesting point of view?
yeah, yeah, and it is, and it has to see also to be willing present with the subtle
Yeah.
energies, going beyond definitions, conclusions, expectations, whatever there is, because even as you mentioned, the idea of I have no point of view about that, so many times it still is.
Mm-hmm.
It still is. And when we start to believe, also something I catched is when we start to believe is where we solidify also
Yeah.
from that belief. And then it can't move any longer because, yeah, I believe that that is the truth.
Yeah.
And as though we are changing every 10 seconds, every second, we are changing. So, what is the value of believing?
Yeah. And you know what's the difference if I am being me, who I truly am? How flexible am I in moving? And if I am being me from a definition of who I am, I have to have, what used to be, I have to have a standpoint and not a wobble point,
Yeah,
because a wobble point wasn't who I was because there was no
yeah,
definition to
yeah,
it. And how much is that exactly the disempowerment of self?
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And it is when I allow myself also to not I am that or that, and I can be that or that, but allowing myself to be in every minute
Yeah,
something different, as it is not defined, and it is malleable, and it is a movement. And that wobbling point, is it when I allow also to wobble, but not wobble of indecision, wobble of movement, of
yeah.
being and going, that's a complete other energy of wobbling.
Thank you for pointing that out because it is being present with the energy of the moment that
Yeah.
constantly shifts and changes potentially
Yeah.
versus being fixed. I am that energy and therefore. And it's again that how can I be in the world? What can I contribute if I allow myself to be present with the energies that I am uh, perceiving,
Yes.
versus if I am fixed and this is how things have to be, and therefore I have to mold those energies and force them to shift into the way that I perceive or I think they should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And therefore, the contribution I could be choosing, I'm cutting off because
Mhm.
I even believing again that I am the contribution. Yeah, I can be the contribution on that fixed point of view. Also, I can contribute, but what am I cutting off? What
Yeah.
am I cutting off? And yeah, that wobbling for me as something so powerful. The movement is so powerful. And every time we stay in an I am statement, we stop the movement.
Mm-hmm.
We stop the movement. So we disempower the possibilities, we disempower ourselves, we disempower what is possible to create, what is possible to create.
Yeah.
That,
And the question that I really have, and that I am, I'm observing, I'm acknowledging, and I'm asking, am I willing to empower myself to be all that I am? And I am keenly aware of, despite wanting to be all that I am, how much I disempowered myself by not being willing to be present with what is. And during the trip, I really something started to shift.
yeah,
Uh, Partially, probably because was never fully 100% in control in the same way I can be in control when I am at home.
yeah, yeah,
I had to deal with what was going on. Or have I just become more flexible by traveling? And it doesn't matter for me what the reason is, but I am so much more flexible and willing to go with what you call movement, be
yeah,
present
yeah,
with that movement of the energy, with what is going on. And how much more are we willing to do that? And what would that create? Not
yeah,
only for us, but
for
for
everyone.
the world,
Yeah,
for the earth.
yeah. And I really, really love that question, Karini, you said is, am I willing to empower myself? That energy of that question is that only is so much more empowering because when I'm questioning that, am I willing to empower myself? Then I push myself into awareness, into knowing, into
Mhm.
receiving, being as the dominant energy in general is disempowering ourselves.
Mhm.
When we grow up, we are disempowered from the start because it looks like, yeah, as a baby, you are born and there are so many rules directly as They don't
Yeah.
trust that you, as a baby, know when you are hungry, when you have to pee, when you know. So that this powered energy is really a ruling energy on planet Earth.
Hmm.
With this question, am I willing to empower myself? Wow, really? Thank you for that question. It is so potent.
And
Wow.
it is truly a question for me. How much am I willing to empower
Yeah.
myself? Because I see how some of the people I really like a lot, how they empower themselves. And am I willing to go there, or am I staying small? Am I, and what I encounter so much in this reality is this, oh, science says.
As though science knows everything,
Yeah,
Karina. Yeah, it
yeah.
is.
And is science truly saying that, or is that my excuse and justification?
Yeah, because when you are speaking with a scientist, perhaps they would say, no, no, we are always in question. We are always looking for more, for different. And it is. It is. They are looking for. My
And
point of view on that is they are looking more to from the rightness, the wrongness, the definitions to
yeah,
yeah,
they're looking for certain things. They are not just looking,
yeah, that yeah.
they're looking for results.
As like a tunnel vision,
Yeah,
as that's my yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down that question, Karina, because it's definitely a question that comes in my list in the morning as am I willing to empower myself today? So to start today,
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah, maybe that could be a good repetition even for me.
Yeah, it lightened up my world so much that yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is something in it to play with it. So thank you for that question, really. Really. As
Sometimes I surprise myself what drops out of my mouth. I
as we
hadn't
do
planned on
some.
it. No, I'm so
Oh,
much more powerful. I planned for it.
oh, yeah, you can go that way. You are free to choose whenever you want to go. But and now the train left the station. I wanted to say something and the train left the station. So
Oh,
how does it get any better than this? It's yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it was about that question for me as am I willing to empower myself today as I can ask it every day. I can choose every day different. But that question is when I am empowering myself for me opens up all the energies of allowance also. And
Hmm.
when I allow that, then there is also allowance for the earth to be what the earth is, for the universe what the universe is in general. So it is empowering everything. It is empowering everything, all the possibilities. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And it's again that something starts with us being willing to be it.
Yeah. 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 As though the earth doesn't really require us to know what she knows,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
be what she is. She doesn't really require us. Can we create some more, some different when we cooperate and communion and
Yeah.
communicate and create together? Oh yeah, clearly, clearly. And am I willing to acknowledge that?
Yeah.
And isn't that the future? When we ask also in the morning, am I willing to empower myself, going with all the energies that opening up, then isn't that every day really conscious creating the future without defining that future?
Yes. Yeah.
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 Wow, how does it get any better than this?
And how much am I willing to empower myself, also inviting the receiving of the contribution of the earth, of the universe,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
fill
Yeah,
in the
that's the
blank.
energy for me that is opening up with that one question is in every direction. There
Yeah,
is so much more there.
yeah.
Yeah. So perhaps it's a even more powerful question than you ever could imagine. Thank you, Earth, to contribute with this question.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. What will this lead us to for the conversation of next week? We don't know.
Yeah. We'll play
And
with it during
for
the week.
yeah, we
We'll
will play. And for not forgetting to say it, next week we will be live 1 day later. It will be on Wednesday due to
great.
traveling
Thank you
also of mine.
for
Yeah,
remembering. Yes.
yeah.
We need to shift for 1 day. And
1 week, 1 day.
what what does that make possible?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Going with what is required, and yeah, next week that's what's required. And
Yeah.
what if nothing depends on time, nothing depends on a day, on an hour. It isn't. So it's not different. We will be here, we will have our talk, and yeah, be the
We'll have
contribution
the conversation. Yeah.
we will have. So yeah.
Yeah. Great
Thank you,
time until
Corina.
then.
You the same,
And
and enjoy.
yes.
Enjoy empowering yourself. Enjoy choosing the happiness, the
Yeah.
joy, whatever you choose. See you next week. Bye
See you
bye.
next